Okay, so right off the bat, this is a historic facility that's going to open next year. How important is this for not only, the Thorns and the WNBA team here in Portland, but across the country and the world?
Yeah, it's game changing. I mean, what you're talking about is for so long, women never had a place to call home in the world of sports. And then now in Portland, what we're doing is we have the WNBA, which is a lot of new WNBA facilities, and there's a lot of new NWSL facilities. But it's the first of its kind where our athletes will get to walk through the door and have a home. And like, if you think about the generations of women in sports, like there's a generation that, the older generation that couldn't even dream this. They were like, okay, they had to fight to even play. And then there's my generation where I was blessed enough to be a professional athlete for a while. But this is better than any dream I could have dreamt of, because I loved playing soccer and basketball was my first love, but there was never a place that I could walk into and feel alive. And when you think about the next generation, I have a 4-year-old daughter, they're walking in and thinking this is normal. Because especially in Portland, like you go to the parks, you see the 11-year-old boys having the female jerseys. What we're doing in Portland, what we've always done in Portland is game-changing things. But what we're doing now is so historic, so groundbreaking, but so fitting to have it here in the epicenter of women's sports that it's a place where the players will feel alive, staff will feel alive because they're getting to be around like-minded people. But most importantly, our community will get to walk in and be like, this is what we're doing, which is pretty exciting.
And you were telling me about the fan support, right? 8,000 people already bought their season tickets. They don't even know the name of the team. How important is it to have a team that's supported by the fans here in Portland?
I mean, I've been blessed to play for the Thorns, and I really remember my first game day. I remember walking out on the field, and it felt like the Olympics and the World Cup. And I remember being like, is this every single day? And every week our fans showed up. And with the Thorns, I truly believe that the Thorns and the community and our whole fan base changed the trajectory of women's sports. And then now we have a WNBA team, and like you said, 8,000 tickets plus, and we don't even have a name yet. Portland, it's personal. It's something that you say we can't do it, and we're going to do it. And the way they've supported women's sports already, and I know the way that they will in the future, that's what's exciting. And then that's what's exciting about building this facility, because we have the best fans in the world, we have the best athletes in the world, and now we'll have the top facility in the world in what some people say little old Portland, but we're doing big things.
Right, and as a former athlete, do you think this facility would catch the attention of other athletes who come to Portland and play?
Oh, yes, like it's part of the whole conversation. When the Bhathal family bought the Thorns, they came in here to make an impact in this community. It wasn't just about buying a professional women's soccer team. They understood the importance of the connectedness and the engagement of the community. And then when they got the WNBA team, this was an opportunity to, Lisa always says, our owner, 1 + 1 = 5. When you buy and you put them together, and something about connected, like-minded people on something bigger than themselves, when you do that, we've been talking about the new facility, but when it's built, I'll probably cry when I walk in. Because it's like you finally walk and you feel seen and heard. And the athletes will do that, the community will have that. And like even in women's sports right now, the stats are 6% of the data is focused on women's sports. In this building, you're gonna have sports science, you're gonna have performance, you're gonna have that innovative mindset of everybody gets to walk in and they know they're part of something bigger. And what we can build here is that's what's exciting for me, is like 5 years from now, we're gonna sit here and be like, look what we did in Portland. Because you have to build it for it to happen. And people need to see it to believe it. And we're doing all of that in one building.
This is like you mentioned, this is a massive investment by the Bhathal family. What kind of commitment does this give not only to the teams, but the community in Portland?
It's all aligned. Like there's no Thorns without our community. There's no WNBA team without our community. There's no facility without our community. There's an intention and purpose to figure out ways to connect it to the community, because that's the only way things are successful here. Like, this is a city that says, we support you and we want to feel alive and we're inspired by you, but we have to be a part of the conversation. So the conversations we're having are different ways to engage, different ways for have the community, because there will be a public entrance, and then obviously there will be 2 separate private entrances for the players and the athletes to go and be athletes. But there's no athlete that I've ever spoken to, and I've been blessed to be one, that does not understand the importance of this community, and the success of us lays on what the community and us do together.
quick question. Now that we're talking about the community, how do you think this will impact the fans and maybe the fan involvement, not only at the WNBA team games next year, but also the Portland Thorns?
You know, like, it's just conversations around. I mean, I went for a cup of coffee the other day, and a woman came up to me, and she hugged me, and she's like, I'm so pumped about this. It's going to impact everybody in a different way. I had a conversation. I won't age this lovely young woman, but I would say she was maybe in her 80s. And it's interesting because when I was speaking to Lisa earlier this week, we were talking about her mom and how her mom's been a lifetime athlete, right? But her reality of what lifetime athlete is completely different from what our reality is, the struggles and everything that's been through. And when I started talking about this facility, in every conversation I've had, different people have leaned in to be like, wow, right? Yesterday I was speaking to the mayor of Hillsboro, and I want her to tell her story, but she was also saying that, like, when she was younger, when she was a soccer player, people said, why are you playing soccer? There's no avenue. Like, they were actually telling her, like, she was dumb for playing it. Now, if you think about the different generations, she got emotional talking about the power of this in this community. And I talk about my 4-year-old daughter. She's like, yeah, Mom, I'm going to play basketball and soccer as a professional athlete. Yeah. What it means to every individual person who's had their journey in sport, but not just women, but men. Men have been allies for so long. They'll get to walk into the building. There'll be girl dads being like, yeah, told you guys, thank you for doing this, because now my daughter can see what she wants to be. But also there's been men along the way who've been opening the doors and trying to pave the way. That's why I say everybody will have their story. And what's exciting is that when we cover this, everybody will come out and share why this building. And that's why I always say we're not talking about just a building and a facility, but what the meaning of this will be. And I think it'll be, you just said to me earlier, you're so pumped to talk about the WNBA.
I'm excited. I'm a huge WNBA fan. And knowing the history of the WNBA, I have to ask you, Portland has had WNBA teams before, but already the team hasn't even played a minute, and they already have a facility unique that they never had before, like it was in 2001. How is this different? How is this team going to be any different than the past?
Listen, the time is now for women in sports. And I can say that having my history, being around the Thorns and women's sports for such a long time, everything is booming. It's like people talk about the momentum. People talk about the movement. You look at every WNBA and NWSL, media rights, attendance, like sponsorship. The players are making more money. The time is now for women's sports. And that's why this is exciting, is because this wouldn't have been as big of a conversation 5 years ago. And 5 years from now, there will be more people doing this. We get to be the first. But women's sports right now, and the power of it, and the influence of it, and the impact of it, that's what's game-changing. And the fact that in Portland we get to be front runners in this game-changing conversation, that's what's exciting. I have no idea what's going to be possible. Like, and obviously I have this energy and whatnot, but that's what's exciting, is the unknown and our role that we get to play in it, in bringing the top athletes from the NWSL, the top athletes from the WNBA, and they're coming here because they're seeing a vision. When they walk into this home, they will feel something they've never felt. And you can't find that anywhere else, because every other city has different ownerships doing different things. They'll walk in and be like, I finally feel like I matter, like I belong, and I have a home. And the crazy thing is, the people who are working for both organizations will get that same feeling too, because they'll be breaking bread and being like, hey, I just experienced this. What do you think? It's like the innovative lab, the possibilities. And I talked about this the other day, but like when you walk into the building, the cafeteria is going to be on the left-hand side, right? And when you walk into that left-hand side, it's going to be like an Olympic Village.
That's awesome.
Where you can sit down, break bread, and when athletes sit and have those conversations together, they're starting here. So think of how much it's going to make them better every single day. And then we have our staff and our performance sitting down, breaking bread. Think about how much is going to make them better every single day. And that's why I'm saying this is not just a building. This is a vision. This is what's possible. It's happening here in Portland.
It feels like this building will be, for the athletes, will be basically a neighborhood, will be their home, right? We talk about Providence Park being a home away from home for players, but this really will be, like you're describing it, How important is that for an athlete to have that aspect of a home feeling?
Yeah, let me ask you, how important is it for you to have a home?
Massive.
So when you finally have a place that was not a dream of yours, that you feel everything has been thought through intentionally for you, from everything from the recovery, what do the women want? What do the players want? The dressing rooms or the locker rooms, as some call it. How do we make it feel, for a woman to feel alive? Like something as simple as like, you know, the right lighting. Because look good, feel good, play good, right? Like everything is intentional in making sure they feel that they've been thought about and that they matter. And for female athletes, that's been a struggle. And we're not where we need to be yet, but it's the steps being taken along the way where they feel it, because we're talking to the Thorns players. Like Lisa was very intentional. You know, there was a survey sent out and she followed up with some players of like, what do you want in your dressing room? What's important to you? And it's the same thing from the performance side and the staff. What do you guys want, with the intention of for women? So it's just going to be big.
That was my next question. Player input. How much, feedback from the players was taken? All right. Since you took my question away, I do have another question. It seems like a quick turnaround for this facility to open. I know the the press release said that it was going to open before the WNBA season next year. People may not know that this building is already established. How quick is this turnaround, or how much work is there to be done for this building to be done?
Yeah, I mean, the location, that's why it's not easy to find 12 acres, right? Where the timeline and the Bhathal family had was, it was important for the NWSL, when they bought the Thorns, they put that in the press release, we're going to have a facility built. They didn't have to do it, they wanted to do it. And then obviously if you're bringing in the top tier athletes, you want them to be the WNBA player. You want them to have a place where they're like, okay, my life is pretty smooth. Like when an athlete can feel comfortable, that's when they start to excel. So we went and we looked at a couple places, but this place, and it's already also important for Portland, we wanted to find a sustainable solution. And so we're repurposing a building out, which is a Nike building out in Hillsboro, where I remember walking in, and even the area of the kitchen, it's all built out already, right? And so Nike obviously is high performance. So you're moving into a building where that mindset's already there. But we still have to build the 2 soccer fields, the 2 basketball courts. All of that still has to be built. But because of the timing that we had to do, and we wanted to find something sustainable, this was the perfect location. Because it's hard to find 12 acres, 63,000 square feet. Like, it's not like that land is just available. And also to have something that already has something that kind of aligns with the vision that the ownership has.
And the renderings look amazing, so I'm excited for this. Okay, one of my last questions, and I have to ask.
Yeah.
When do we know the name of the WNBA team in Portland?
Okay, where's the camera? The name is... Where's the camera? What camera am I looking at?
This one right here.
The name of the new WNBA team in Portland is... We'll find out.
What do you mean? You can't just... Okay, do we have a timeline when we could hear?
Listen, if we could have announced it by now, we definitely would have, right? I can just tell you, as soon as we're able to, we will.
Got you. And then the community feedback process, is
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I mean, everything the Bhathal family does is very intentional. And they are very community focused. And that's one of the reasons they came to Portland. And they've invested so much into this community in this region because they believe in it. But yeah, the timeline, we'll come back to you on all that. Nice try.
That was a huge tease. I was like, wait, are we going to get breaking news right now? Wow.
Breaking news here.
Karina, thank you so much. Anything else you want to mention or tell the public about?
Yeah, I think it's just so important that we all find ownership in this, because what we want to accomplish, we cannot do on our own. And it's every single person to find their role in this, whether you're doing it, of just even be like, hey, can we have this conversation? Whether you have a child that you're like, hey, I want to take them to games. If you have a company, get some season tickets. I think what we want to do here in Portland, what we are doing is groundbreaking and breaking history, but we can't do it on our own. The athletes need the support. We need to find the right staff members. People need to understand that we need them to do the historic things that we want to do. But we can do it in Portland because we've always done it. This is the epicenter of women's sports, because we have the brands that the athletes wear, right? We have their headquarters are right here. We have the top athletes in the world. We have the facility, the best facility right now for that. That's never been done before. We have the community, but if we all just be like, yay,
and move on,
people will pass us by. And we need Portlandians to be Portlandians. We need that passion. We need them to show up. We need the conversation to talk. Like when you're having a cup of coffee, turn around and be like, hey, we got the epicenter of women's sports here. Did you hear about that facility? Did you hear about the WNBA team? Did you hear, like, make it a part of who we are in our culture. And I promise you, we'll continue to lead the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And you're always welcome here, by the way.
Cool.
So whenever you want to stop by and just ramble with me.
I like your shoe game.
Thank you.
Get the shoe
Appreciate
game in
you.
the shot.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thank you. And then